In early 2025, the UK was rocked by the case of Zhou Xinhao, a Chinese international student. British media quickly uncovered the horrifying truth. Over the span of 5 years, he was accused of drugging and sexually assaulting 60 women, recording the entire process on video. Even more disturbing, his highly sophisticated methods meant that many victims might still be unaware they had been assaulted. The case shocked the public and raised serious concerns about law enforcement and the safety of women. Today, on this channel, we'll explore the story of Zhou Xinhao, the man the media dubbed the Chinese Predator, who was just convicted by a UK jury. He is now considered one of the most brazen and dangerous sex offenders in British history. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. Now let's dive into this disturbing case. Zhou Xinhao, 28, also known by his English name Peiko, was born and raised in a well-off family in Dongguan, Guangdong Province. His father worked for a state-owned enterprise, while his mother was a teacher. The family reportedly owned significant assets, including multiple properties. Zhao's academic journey began at Guangdong University of Technology. In 2017, at age 20, he went to study abroad in Northern Ireland, pursuing a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering at Queen's University Belfast, graduating 2 years later. In September 2019, he enrolled in a master's program in the same field at University College London, UCL. In 2020, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he returned to China. However, a year later, he came back to London to begin his PhD. Thanks to his strong financial background, Zhou never had to worry about tuition, rent, or living expenses. His family covered everything. He maintained a luxurious, trendy lifestyle, flaunting Rolex watches and a wardrobe full of designer brands. He was always seen with a flashy appearance. Aside from his studies, Zhou was obsessed with his appearance. He didn't hesitate to undergo cosmetic procedures like hair transplants, eyelid surgery, chin implants, and dental work. Combined with high-end skincare products, he kept a meticulously groomed look. With his polished appearance, he once appeared on a Chinese online dating show. It's unclear how this experience affected him, but from then on, he began to exhibit a strong desire to conquer women. He created multiple social media accounts, building an image of a hardworking PhD student who loved fitness, often posting shirtless photos showing off his muscles. He bragged to friends about his sexual prowess, claiming to have slept with hundreds of women a year. However, the truth behind those claims remains questionable. One notable detail is how particular Zhou was about his living space. He once posted an ad looking for a rental apartment with good soundproofing, claiming it was because he often hosted parties. But behind that seemingly harmless request lay a much darker intention, which we'll uncover later. While studying abroad, Zhou Xinhao initially stayed in a student dormitory in Bloomsbury, central London. Later, he moved into a luxury apartment in Elephant and Castle, South London. The unit was on the 39th floor with a panoramic city view and cost £4,000 per month. In January 2024, police conducted an emergency search of Zhou Xinhao's apartment in Elephant and Castle and arrested him on the spot. What they found during the raid was deeply alarming. In his wardrobe, officers discovered pipettes, glass bottles containing substances like butanone, Viagra, ecstasy, and a special industrial chemical. This chemical, once absorbed by the body, metabolizes into GSB, a banned substance often used in sexual assaults due to its ability to render victims unconscious. The pipettes were believed to be used to precisely measure doses of these dangerous liquids. Upon further examination of his phone, police discovered a screenshot from a messaging app showing the packaging of a substance called C-furin, accompanied by a description that read, "Used for general anesthesia." In addition, authorities found 4 hidden cameras installed throughout Zhou Xinhao's apartment, along with a micro camera and a pinhole camera, concealed inside his student dormitory bedroom. The volume of data seized from Zhou Zhiheng's electronic devices was staggering, more than 6.5 terabytes, including hundreds of videos, showing him assaulting unconscious women, millions of social media messages, and a dense history of search terms such as hidden camera, micro camera, and alarm clock with camera. A forensic analysis of his computer uncovered 1,277 videos, totaling up to 1,660 hours. Notably, police also found information about a recording device advertised in Chinese with slogans like "ideal for covert filming" and "just being curious." This product was publicly available on Amazon. The footage, recorded by Zhou Zhiheng himself, shows him sexually assaulting multiple unconscious victims. Data analysis reveals that the incidents occurred at various locations, including his apartment in Bloomsbury, London, an apartment in Elephant and Castle, London, and an unidentified location in China. In addition, during the search of Zhou Zhiheng's apartment wardrobe, police found a yellow Fendi box containing women's jewelry and clothing. Authorities believe these items likely belonged to the victims and were kept as twisted trophies. At the investigation agency, Zhou Zhiheng denied knowing about the existence of the videos, claiming they might have been automatically downloaded to his phone due to an operational error. However, he admitted to having filmed women's faces while they were sleeping, but insisted that the act was not invasive in nature. After his arrest, Zhou Zhiheng was prosecuted by the Crown Prosecution Service at the Central Criminal Court in London on the following charges: 11 counts of assault, 12 counts of possession of extreme material, 3 counts of voyeurism, 1 count of unlawful detention, and 8 counts of possession of controlled substances with intent to distribute. Zhou Zhiheng denied all the charges. During the trial, police called on anyone who might be a victim to come forward with information. Commander Southworth of the Metropolitan Police, who directly supervised the case, stated in an interview that Zhou Zhiheng could be one of the most prolific serial offenders in UK history. Police reported that no electronic devices, phones, computers, or cameras linked to Zhou Zhiheng were found from the period between 2017 and 2019, when he studied in Belfast. Therefore, it remains unclear whether he committed any crimes during that time. However, evidence collected from 2019 to 2024 shows that Zhou Zhiheng carried out at least 11 assaults against 10 women. Police fear the actual number of victims may be significantly higher. Based on video analysis, it is estimated that at least 50 other women were assaulted during this period. This brings the total number of potential victims to at least 60, including those already identified. Commander Southworth described Zhou Zhiheng as cunning and manipulative. He often approached potential victims through social events or social media. The commander emphasized that the sophisticated nature of these crimes made detection extremely difficult, and many victims might not even be aware they had been assaulted. Investigators therefore continue to urge any woman who is ever alone with Zhou Zhiheng to contact the police. Authorities are especially eager to hear from women in the Chinese community in London and surrounding areas, those who may have encountered Zhou Zhiheng between 2019 and 2024. The Metropolitan Police have also widened their investigation, urging any potential victims who had contact with Zhou Zhiheng while he lived in China to come forward. Victims who may have relevant information are encouraged to submit online reports through the police's major incident public portal. The question is, what drove Zhou Zhiheng down this dark path of crime? And what was his method of operation? A crucial clue emerged in November 2020 when Zhou Zhiheng returned to China due to the COVID-19 pandemic. London police discovered that during this period, he used a lesser-known messaging app to download a detailed guide on how to sedate and assault women while they were unconscious. Additionally, Investigators found an advertisement stored in Zhou Zhenhao's phone memory showing images of women asleep, alongside a promise regarding the effectiveness of a certain sedative. Alarmingly, they also uncovered 3 videos depicting Zhou Zhenhao assaulting women in China. At trial, the identities of the victims were kept confidential and replaced with the letters B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. The footage presented showed that 5 of the women appeared to be in a deep unconscious state. Victim D briefly seemed to regain consciousness and attempted to resist, but failed. In another video, Victim E was so deeply asleep that her snoring could be clearly heard. Victim G also appeared unconscious but suddenly woke up mid-assault, struggling and sobbing as she pleaded with Zhou Zhenhao, "Please, don't." The horror and severity of these videos shocked the courtroom. Some jurors were brought to tears, while several female jurors had to close their eyes, unable to continue watching. In response, the judge issued a special directive allowing jurors to take frequent breaks to stabilize their emotions and avoid psychological distress. Identifying the Chinese victims in the videos has proven a significant challenge for British investigators. However, under UK law, Zhou Zhenhao, despite being a foreign national and committing crimes outside British territory, can still be prosecuted in the UK. This is because at the time of his arrest, he was residing in the UK. According to legal principles, if an act is deemed illegal under British law, then regardless of where it occurs, the perpetrator may be charged in the UK, even if no complaint has been filed by the victim. Representative from the UK Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, emphasized the importance of delivering justice for the unidentified victims and reaffirmed their determination to pursue the case to the end. At present, British police are working closely with Interpol to expand the investigation. International media have described Zhou Zhenhao as a serial sex offender who not only committed crimes in China, but also continued targeting female Chinese students after returning to London. To media support, police were able to identify and obtain testimony from 2 of the victims. In addition, 2 other video clips show a woman being assaulted, but police have yet to confirm her identity. At the trial, the 2 video clips were shown, depicting the assault of victim A at Zhou Zhenhao's student dormitory in Bloomsbury. However, police have yet to determine exactly when the incident occurred, whether it was before or after the COVID-19 pandemic. The first video shows victim A initially unconscious, but later regaining awareness and desperately pleading with Zhou Zhenhao to stop. Clear scratch marks appeared on his back, possibly from her attempts to fight back. In response to her pleas, Zhou Zhenhao coldly replied, "It's useless. This place is soundproof." This statement further raised suspicions that he specifically sought out apartments with good soundproofing. In fact, his true intention was to lure intoxicated women home from parties under the guise of helping them get back safely. In reality, some of Zhou Zhenhao's classmates had long noticed suspicious behavior in the way he treated women. They had witnessed him frequently making inappropriate comments toward girls during school social events, pressuring them to drink, and personally mixing their drinks. Despite repeated warnings and objections from friends, he still managed to carry out his intentions on multiple occasions. The second video shown in court had content similar to the first. Both were recorded using a spy camera the size of a thumb, hidden discreetly on a bookshelf. Initially, detectives struggled to extract the audio from these videos. Zhou Zhenhao used this as part of his defense, claiming the women in the footage had willingly engaged in sex with him after being brought home from parties. However, just before the trial began, technicians successfully recovered the audio, providing irrefutable evidence of his crimes. Faced with undeniable evidence, Zhou Zhenhao abruptly changed his testimony, telling the jury that it was merely roleplay meant to enhance excitement. He insisted that everything was staged according to a script and the woman in the video was simply acting with him. Zhou Zhenhao also offered an explanation for the origin of the two video clips. He claimed he met the woman through a dating app in April 2022, while still a PhD student at UCL. After their first date, they had sex. At their second meeting at his private apartment, he testified, they discussed special preferences, and the woman allegedly expressed a desire to wear a costume and roleplay a forced encounter. He claimed that the video was recorded precisely according to a script they had both agreed upon. However, police immediately dismissed this testimony, pointing out that the woman in the video was clearly unconscious. Her eyes remained shut, and there were absolutely no signs of acting. Despite the sharp arguments presented by the police, Zhou Zhenhao continued to make shocking claims. He boasted that he had sex with at least 5 different women each month and frequently instructed them to close their eyes and remain motionless. Zhou defended himself by claiming that during his dates, the women had given prior consent to be filmed. He then stated that he suggested they voluntarily take sedatives, insisting that the women in the videos were simply acting to satisfy his personal fantasies in exchange for money and gifts. In response, the prosecution posed a pointed question. If that's true, why are you only aroused by unconscious women? Zhou hesitated, then answered, I don't know. I just feel attracted to it. Throughout the interrogation, he repeatedly remained silent when asked critical questions. How many videos do you have in total? No comment. How many victims are there? No comment. How long have you been doing this? No comment. His cold and defiant attitude infuriated the courtroom, especially when the prosecutor asked whether he derived pleasure from controlling women. Zhou Zhenhao suddenly smiled and arrogantly replied, I excel in every aspect. I'm superior to others. I am a very outstanding person. In response to this shameless behavior, the commander of the Southworth Police Department condemned Zhou Zhenhao as a depraved and cowardly man who attacked his victims with cruelty and inhumanity. Although the whereabouts of victim A remain unknown, 2 other women courageously came forward during the trial to testify and expose Zhou's criminal actions. One of the 2 witnesses was a young Chinese international student who recounted her horrifying experience. She first met Zhou Zhenhao in May 2023 when she asked him for help with some math-related questions. A few days later, she received an invitation to a party at a luxury apartment complex in Elephant and Castle. Her friend lived 2 floors above Zhou Zhenhao's unit. At the party, after consuming a certain amount of alcohol, Zhou invited her to his apartment to continue drinking and play games. Seeing that she was becoming intoxicated and unsteady on her feet, he expressed concern for her safety and suggested she stay the night. She testified that while under the influence, she jokingly said she would stay if he gave her 100,000 yuan, but emphasized that this was not an agreement to have sex. After entering the apartment, she was pressured into drinking more alcohol and other beverages. He then pulled her into the bedroom. Their conversation was secretly recorded by a hidden camera placed at the head of the bed, activated by motion sensors. This very video became a crucial piece of evidence in the case. In the video, Zhou Zhenhao repeatedly pressured the girl to drink, saying things like, "Finish it, don't waste it." Feeling uneasy and wanting to leave, the girl at one point collapsed onto the floor and burst into tears. However, he insisted on keeping her there, even grabbing her shirt from behind and forcing her to finish the glass of alcohol. In a state of despair, she was compelled to drink a large glass of vodka, after which she nearly lost consciousness completely. She could only vaguely recall feeling dizzy and completely unable to resist. The hidden camera captured footage of the girl screaming, crying, and struggling as she was assaulted. She even tried several times to sit up and run away, but Zhou Zhenhao pushed her back onto the bed each time. When she finally left the apartment, she was in such a panic that she forgot her handbag. The next day, She experienced severe symptoms such as nausea, loss of appetite, insomnia, and emotional breakdown. Ultimately, on May 21, 2023, she decided to report the incident to London police. Officers were sent to her residence to collect details. However, she explained that she struggled to communicate her story due to her unfamiliarity with UK laws, language barriers, and limitations in the available interpretation services at the time. Due to these obstacles, she did not receive a positive response from the police, and her case was not investigated immediately. Feeling confused, helpless, and devastated, she gave up hope of bringing Zhou Zhanhao to justice. However, refusing to give up, she sent a direct message to Zhou Zhanhao, declaring that she would expose his crimes and confirming that she had contacted the police. At the same time, she posted a post on the Chinese social media platform Xiaohongshu, publicly denouncing Zhou Zhanhao, along with his photo, to warn other women. After the post went viral, London's Metropolitan Police expressed regret that she had not received adequate interpreting services during her initial report. 8 months after her first call, investigators came across her social media post and reached out to her again. They announced that police found videos and photos on Zhou Zhanhao's phone showing him drugging and assaulting her. Her post on Xiaohongshu not only helped advance the investigation, but also helped find another victim. The post caught the attention of a woman named Elle, who reached out to share a similar experience. Elle said she met Zhou Zhanhao in August 2021. When she was just 19, they had one consensual encounter. Elle hoped for a serious relationship, but Zhou treated her as nothing more than a fling. On September 13, 2021, Elle celebrated her birthday with Zhou and some friends at a Haidilao hotpot restaurant in London's Chinatown. After dinner, the group moved to a private room in another restaurant to drink, including several bottles of Jack Daniel's whiskey. From that point on, Elle's memory became blurry. She only remembered vomiting on the street and losing her credit card. Somehow, she ended up at Zhou Zhanhao's student dorm without realizing it. When she woke up, she found Zhou on top of her. Elle said she asked him to stop, but then quickly blacked out. The next morning, she still felt disoriented as she left the dorm. She was torn and unsure whether what had happened constituted a crime. She reached out to Zhou Zhanhao to confront him, but he denied everything, claiming she had been completely conscious at the time. In the trial that concluded on June 19, 2025, the jury found Zhou Zhanhao guilty of aggravated sexual assault, including using sedatives to subdue victims and filming the assaults. He was convicted of 11 counts of sexual assault involving 10 female victims, 9 of whom were secretly filmed. The assaults occurred in both China and the UK, with 7 victims being Chinese women and 3 being Chinese international students in the UK. So far, only 2 of the student victims have been identified, while the identities of the remaining 8 remain unknown. Additionally, Zhou Zhanhao was convicted of 3 counts of voyeurism, 10 counts of possessing extreme content, 1 count of unlawful detention, and 3 counts of possessing Class A drugs for the purpose of committing sexual assaults. However, the jury ruled there was insufficient evidence to convict him on 2 additional counts of extreme content possession and 5 further charges of drug possession with similar intent. Representative of the UK Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, stated, "I would like to express my deep respect to the women who bravely came forward to accuse Zhou Zhanhao. Their extraordinary courage and resilience were key to achieving this verdict. We sincerely thank them." The judge at London's Central Criminal Court warned during the trial that Zhou Zhanhao could face a very lengthy prison sentence. At sentencing on June 19, 2025, University College London, UCL, announced that Zhou Zhanhao had been suspended from student status on January 27, 2024, shortly after the university was informed of the case. UCL also stated it had provided necessary support measures for affected students and staff, and had cooperated closely with police during the investigation. Zhou Zhenhao's case once again sounded the alarm about the growing global threat of drug-facilitated sexual assault. To protect oneself, individuals must raise awareness and take essential precautions. These include never accepting drinks from strangers, being cautious with new acquaintances, avoiding going to private residences casually, and especially not consuming drinks prepared by others in any circumstance. Always remember, you can know a face, but not a heart. When attending social gatherings, always go with and leave with trusted friends, never separate. If you're the trusted one, take responsibility to ensure others' safety and prevent them from becoming targets of those with bad intentions. Most importantly, everyone should equip themselves with knowledge and skills to prevent sexual assault. Always stay alert and protect themselves and those around them. What do you think about this case? If you enjoy my channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment so we can meet again in future videos. Thank you so much.